Right guys, this video will have to be quick because I'm just like biding my time until this passes over my face. So yeah, this time of year is the worst to shoot videos because the light just shines straight in onto your face. So this is going to be about pest resistant plants. Disclaimer, no plant is pest resistant, that's just not a thing. But there are plants that get pests, like basically you're just waiting for them to get them. And there's plants that may never get them. Top of the list is peace lilies. Peace lilies cause a lot of hassle. They will either thrive in your home or they won't. And there's stuff you can do about it, but if you have a house that your peace lily hates, it's probably always going to hate it. Like if it doesn't like your humidity or your tap water or whatever, it's just never going to thrive. But they don't tend, touch wood, to get pests. I don't know, I'm guessing there's something about them that pests don't like. And I read that was a thing like a while ago, and then I realised that, yeah, I used to have a place in my house called Spider Mite Corner because it was dusty and there was always spider mites there, and obviously I had loads of plants there. And at one point all the plants had spider mites except for my peace lily. It just, they just weren't interested. And I don't know if there'd have been fewer plants there if they would have gone onto it because, you know, less choice. But if you don't like bugs, peace lilies are a great one to get. They come with their other problems, but pests doesn't tend to be one of them. And this tends to be the same across like variegated and non-variegated. Another one is Pilea peperomoides, you know, the flat pancakey one. I don't know if it's the shape of the leaves, the bugs feel so exposed, like there's nowhere for them to hide, but they're just not, I don't think I've ever had any pests on them. Like they will get them, you will get the occasional mealybug, but they're just not that bothered about sticking around. I've gone back and forth about putting alocasia on this list. Alocasia do get pests and they get them quite a lot, but they tend to keep them to themselves. And depending on the plant. Do you know what, we're just going to keep alocasia off. Alocasia they go both ways. My leg is completely dead. That's not helped. Right, Burgundy rubber plants. Never had pests on mine, but I have had them on the variegated one, which is next to it. I don't know what, oh, we're running out of time, guys. I don't know what it is. This is such a weird angle. It's because I'm sat on the floor. Seen this new leaf? Look at it. Monstera always have thrips. This one doesn't, but it'll get them. It's once you kind of make peace with the fact that plant pests, they're designed over millennia. They've evolved to eat plants. I'm not going to be able to stop them from doing that. So yeah, and Monstera and thrips have this like symbiotic relationship. The thrips will live their life on the Monstera, and they lay their eggs inside the leaves, which is why we can't wash them all off. But then they won't do enough damage to the Monstera to actually kill it. So if you have a lone Monstera with a few thrips, I'm not saying like just leave it be. I would make sure the leaves are clean and, you know, some sort of insecticidal soap or something. But your main worry is them spreading to another plant. Monstera don't seem that bothered. I'm looking for them now. If you look for them on a Monstera, is that one? No. They will be at the back, at the top. That is just where they go everywhere, but if you are specifically looking for where there will definitely be some, that tends to be where they are. That's where they like to congregate. Don't know why. If you really panic about thrips, then I would remove any dead leaf matter. You know, all this like old caterpillar stuff. All this crap. Just get rid of it. Dear God. I love the sun, but it's too much. But yeah, just get rid of it. Then it's not that that's what they're like, but it's just there's less places for them to hide. Hoya, I've not had a problem with spider mites or thrips. They do get them, but you can sort of give them a quick hose off and they'll leave probably onto another plant, but they're not fans of Hoya. If they can get another plant, that's what they'll go for. Mealybugs, I panic about mealybugs because they're getting the little, that was my shoulder clicking. They are almost impossible to eradicate once they're in. It becomes about like population control. And Hoya have so many leaves that it's just a pain. Because basically you have to go around and like just squish them all. And I've not got the time nor the inclination to do that. So I just constantly panic about mealybugs and just kind of look for them. Luckily, because mealybugs are white, they're pretty easy to see. But I would, if you see what you think might be mealybugs, I would kind of get your insecticidal soap out and get your plant showered, because you don't want the problem to grow. Dracaena and snake plants, they're just not that, they're pretty like good with being able to fight off pests, and I think because of the way their leaves are, the pests feel quite exposed, a bit like the pilea. They're just not going to be sticking around if they've got another option. Right, plants to avoid if you don't like pests. Calathea is up there. Spider mites love them. And whilst Calathea are they're pretty good at fighting them off. They're not great at getting rid of them, but it takes a lot for a pest to kill them. But they will look like crap immediately. Often like a good quarter of the leaf will just go crispy around the edge, and it just looks horrible. They start producing like small weird shaped leaves. It's just not great. So I would, if you've got a big like beautiful Calathea that's your pride and joy, I would make sure like it's a priority to wash it with even just like fairy liquid, like a little drop of fairy liquid in some water weekly. I think the thing about Calathea is it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because they don't need a lot of light, we put them in more recessed areas. More recessed areas have more dust, and spider mites love dust. So I don't know if it's the plant itself or where we put them. It's probably a mix of both. Most creatures love to eat Calathea. Cats, dogs, bunnies, pests. They're clearly just delicious. So yeah, it's definitely like a prevention is better than the cure. Now I have brought Calathea back from nothing. My preferred method when Calathea gets spider mites, just because they take so long to treat. Like you just have to keep going back because the population will just keep bouncing back. So what I tend to do is just chop all the leaves off. And I have Calathea that I've chopped all the leaves off probably about 5 times, and they just keep coming back like nothing happened. They are obviously a lot smaller, but they do want to live, even though it really doesn't seem like they do. But yeah, I would just make sure you're keeping the leaves clean. Succulents. I love the idea of succulents if I had like enough space, because they really suit the sort of tendency to underwater that I have. And also the blooms are stunning. But it's mealybugs. And mealybugs they're not a pest, touch wood, that I have a problem with currently. I have the odd one, but on succulents, they love them. Because they suck the sap out of the leaf. And obviously succulents store a lot of sap in the leaf. So for them, they're like, this is perfect. So they don't want to move. It's like the perfect environment, so they will fight to stay. There's also like a lot of like nooks and crannies on the succulent for them to hide in. I did have them on my Ponytail Palm, which is another one that they do get pests, but I think because they store water in like the trunk and the pests can't get to that. So I don't think pests are that bothered. They're just not one that pests are that fussed about. But I have had mealybugs in the leaves, and they get in where all the leaves come out. It's quite tightly packed, and they do get in there and it's a pain, but you tend to only need a few. It's this kind of thing where you can just squish them when you see them, and after a while they're just not going to bother coming back. Right, I think that's all of the ones that sort of stick out as either being good for pests or bad. You know, good at not having pests or always have pests. Pathos are pretty good at not having pests, but Scindapsus and heartleaf philodendrons are better. However, Pathos and Scindapsus, you can treat them. In fact, I've never had pests on my Scindapsus pictus. I think it's probably because the leaves are really thick. But I had It was like a reverted golden Pathos and a boring, like a jade heartleaf philodendron. It was almost impossible, considering these plants, botanically they're not the same, but they look so similar, but thrips would not shift off the heartleaf philodendron. They were in there and they were just not interested in leaving. So if you can't decide between the heart-leafed plants, philodendrons tend to be more difficult to get them to shift, the heart-leafed ones. When it comes to other philodendron, it really depends on the individual, either species or even the specimen. So this verrucosum, I'm really just showing you the new leaf. Look at that. And then we've got 2 new leaves coming. There's a new leaf there and a new leaf there. This, touch wood, doesn't tend to get pests. I'm just checking it now before I embarrass myself. No, we're looking pretty good. Again, you just want to be looking at the backs of the leaves. And they tend to all congregate around here. Also, if you check out, you can see where this, can you see? Here, he's just starting to emerge from his petiole. No, he's not. He's starting to emerge from his cataphyll. If there was a pest on that, did I just knock off? I don't think it was a pest. But that is where it would be. They like the new growth because I assume it's, we're nearly out of time, because it's softer. So even on the Monstera, like, it's the new growth they'll go for. Not always, but if you were sort of looking for a place to start, that's where I would go for. Like, when I'm doing pest checks, I always start on the new growth first because chances are that's where they're going to be. From what I've gathered, the best way to get rid of pests is like a systemic pest control, where you can like water it into the soil or just put it in the soil, and it will kind of creates like a resistance within the soil to fight the plant, to fight bugs. So you only need to like reapply it every so often because it like lasts for a decent amount of time. Oh, but they're not really a thing we have here. We do have, it seems to be like an American thing. You can probably get them. I have tried pest controls that said they were systemic, but they didn't work. So I had one that said you could use it a max of 4 times on one plant, and I used it 4 times and the bugs were still there. So for that reason, I'm not that impressed. I don't know why you can only use it 4 times, but my worry would be if you use it 5 times, the plant will die. So yeah. I've also tried ladybirds. Ladybirds worked fine, but they tend to go for big pests like aphids and stuff. And once they run out of aphids, if you kept them contained, they might start on spider mites and thrips. But if you, for example, have the window open like I do for airflow, they'll just fly out of the window and go and eat all the aphids in my garden. And I can't begrudge them that. I'm not running some sort of ladybird prison. So yeah, I am considering getting like, you know, one of the greenhouse, the little greenhouse cabinet things, and putting them in there, but I don't want them to starve to death. I do have, I could put in, we've got like a springtail colony. I'll have to look and see if ladybirds eat springtails, but again, that's just a bit mean. Like, you know, my springtails were here first, and I've raised that colony. Well, my boyfriend's raised that colony. It just seems a little bit harsh to just like throw it out to be eaten by ladybirds. The best way to get rid of thrips on Monstera in summer is just put your Monstera outside. I know I always seem to wang on about putting Monstera outside, but I swear it's the only way I can get big leaves on mine. And it seems to like sustain it. So this grew only just unfurled and we're doing really well. You know, it's got the fenestrations. But the summer outside really seems to give it the energy, and loads of stuff eats thrips. Outside is an ecosystem. There's stuff out there designed to eat thrips. There's ladybirds, and then the birds eat the ladybirds, and then the owls eat the birds, or, you know, whatever. But in here, there's just me and the bugs and the plants. And I'm only one person. Plus, I don't have the, like, the ladybirds and stuff, that's what they eat. If I ate spider mites, then I might be more proactive, but I don't. So this is taking a weird turn, hasn't it? Basically, if you have a pest infestation and it's really like driving you mad and it's summer-ish or just not freezing cold, then putting your plants outside is quite a good way to get rid of pests. It's not foolproof, but I see a lot of people panicking about putting plants outside because they'll get pests. But in my experience, I found the opposite, because there's stuff out there, like outside is designed for pests to be in, inside is not. Although if you can harness a spider, like spiders will eat bugs, especially this time of year when there's not a lot else for them to eat. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there because the light has moved onto my face. I could move into the middle now, couldn't I? If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I will do my best to reply. Well, I will reply, but as to the quality of the reply, who knows. Thank you very much for watching and I will see you next week. Bye!